when I started at the Society of American Florists as a writer and editor, I really thought it was a 2-year gig. That was it. I was going to be jumping on to different things in communications work. But, you know, and this is mainly for the students in the room, when you have really important, interesting, challenging work to do, and when you have really great people to do it with you, and then you have an industry that I grew to love and really enjoy all the people in the industry that I worked with, why change? I did have 7 or 8 different positions during the time I was there. I wasn't the writer and editor for 38 years. So that was also a big reason why I stayed. So you can stay in one place for a long time and have a great career and learn a lot as you're doing it. So again, thank you very much for having me here today. Really appreciate that. I've known Charlie for, I don't know, maybe 25 years, first at the Sealy Conference, and then we worked on the board of the Sealy Conference together for several years. So when Charlie called, I certainly couldn't say no to Charlie. So I appreciate the offer, and I'm honored by it. But then even more important, perhaps, than Charlie, which is tough, is knowing Jim and Ellen Ellison and their daughter PJ. I've known Jim and Ellen for probably close to 30 years. They were very involved with SAF and on the board of directors, and knew PJ for a long time, again through SAF activities. So, and I was really honored about 3 weeks ago to be in the same room when Jim and Ellison were inducted into the Floriculture Hall of Fame. So that was, we'll give you a clap on that too. I thought I would just start with a few comments about SAF, because maybe there's some people in the room who just don't know that much about the Society of American Florists. We are the national trade association representing all segments of the U.S. floral industry, so growers, wholesalers, retailers, suppliers, academicians, researchers, students, kind of the whole gamut. And in our new strategic plan, which you'll hear me talk a little bit about, we really don't talk about members as much as we talk about growth-minded industry professionals, people who are business owners in the industry, who want to grow, who want to learn, who want to succeed. And those are the people that we aspire to have as members and to have participate in the organization. We've been around for 135 years, so it's a very established organization in the industry. And we focus probably on 3 primary areas. Marketing, we really help our members do a better job of selling flowers and plants. Government advocacy, we're up on the Hill. We have lobbyists who do all sorts of government lobbying work, from pesticide issues or groundwater issues or research issues or international trade issues, down to small business issues like minimum wage or healthcare reform. And then we just have general business services, things that business owners can use to make their business more profitable and run more efficiently. So that's a little bit about what SAF is all about. We're located in Alexandria, Virginia, just across the Potomac River from Washington, D.C., and have been in that area for, I think, close to 50 or 60 years. And it's great because we have access to Capitol Hill when we have to go up there and lobby and meet members of Congress and other federal regulators. So with that, let me dig into the talk. It's going to kind of have 3 parts. The first is really talking about the industry as a whole, where the industry is today, and I'll be providing a lot of data. The second part is more about the challenges and opportunities that SAF has found as we did research for our new strategic plan, which we just completed earlier this year. It was about an 8-month process that we did to really kind of rejuvenate and re-energize the organization. And then the last part, which will be the shortest part, will deal primarily with where we are with our strategic plan. So first, let's talk about how sales are. And so we do an economic outlook survey every quarter, just to get a snapshot from our members about how things are going. So it's not a real scientific survey. Charlie might question the validity of it. And it is a little bit anecdotal, but it does give a snapshot. So 52% of respondents said that their sales were up. About 30% said sales were about the same. And about 18% said sales were down. Now, I don't know if those numbers might change. This was through the second quarter of this year. So talk about a recession might change those numbers a bit, but that's where they were at the second quarter of this year. Next, we wanted to look at who do you think is most optimistic in the industry? So of the three major industry segments, growers, wholesalers, retailers, by a show of hands, who thinks the growers are the most optimistic? This could, just a couple. How about wholesalers? A few more. And what about retail florists? Okay, that's the clear winner with this group. Which segment is most optimistic? Wholesalers are most optimistic by a pretty wide margin. Let's take a look at the snapshot. I think did my mic go off? Felt like it did. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at a snapshot of the industry. This data is based on a mix of government data, industry estimates, and where no data or official estimates are available, it's ballpark guesses from very plugged-in people in the industry. So let's look at floriculture crops production. It's the best window we have on production data, and it's a report that is produced by the USDA's National Agricultural Statistics Service, or NASS. And SAF was very influential in getting funding for the 2018 report. We were without the report in 2016 and 17, but we lobbied for funding, and USDA was actually very open to engaging in some unique shifting of funds to allow us to have this report for 2018. So let's take a look at the numbers. This is 2018 versus 2015, and these operations, and they survey operations that have $100,000 or more in sales. And so these operations comprise 44% of all producers, but they account for 99% of the total value of floriculture crops. So the total wholesale value was $4.6 billion. It's a 9% increase over 2015. And the number of producers also went up 8% to about 2,800. Now there's one caveat to this data. There were 3 states that participated in the survey in 2015 that were replaced by 5 new states in 2018. The 12 states that were surveyed in both 2015 and 2018 saw only a 3% increase in total sales. So when you look at these numbers, they're skewed a little bit because of the change in the total number of states that were surveyed. But let's drill down a little bit more and look at the various categories of sales. So annual bedding and garden plants are on the top at $1.4 billion, up 13%. Potted flowering plants, $877 million, up 8%. California accounts for about 34% of that production, and Florida about 17%. Perennials, up 24%. Foliage and plants in indoor and for indoor and patio use are down 8%, the only category that's down. Propagated floriculture materials up 10%. Cut flowers, $375 million. And cut cultivated greens up 26%, and Florida has about 75% of that total value. So now let's take a look at the states. California accounts for 26% of the total wholesale value. Florida ranks second with 20%, while Michigan ranks third with 10%, and New Jersey and Ohio round out the top 5, accounting for 5% and 4% respectively. Let me zero in a little bit on California. California saw growth in wholesale value across all categories, with the exception of cut flowers, which dropped 2% in wholesale value, and propagative material, which fell 4%. The state had a 70% increase in perennials, a 28% increase in potted foliage, and a 34% increase in cut greens. And some of that increase in the cut greens might be attributed to the hurricanes that Florida experienced in the past couple of years. So let's now look at cut flower imports. Total imports value is about $1.24 billion. From 2012 to 2017, imports increased an average of 4.3% a year and had a bump of 7% in 2018. And that upward trend is we think it will continue to expand about 4.5% through 2022. Colombian product comprises about 60% of floral imports. Ecuador comprises about 20% of imports. Now, Ecuador is going through, right now, a lot of turmoil, and we'll see how that affects, for the immediate future, a product coming in from Ecuador. The Netherlands, almost 75 million at 6%. Canada, 60 million. And Mexico, 30 million. It comes out about 2.5% of the total. So let's look at importers and wholesalers. Both are segments where there is no government data. So these are based on a gut sense of people who work closely in those segments. Close to 80% of imported flowers go through Miami International Airport. And I was down there recently, and it's really an interesting sight to see when you see 10 747s full of only flowers arrive in Miami each day. And you know how big a 747 is. It's a massive amount of cut flowers coming in. And there are 75 importers in the Miami area and about 25 farm reps. While they're not all the same players, that number has stayed pretty much the same over the last few years. In LA, it accounts for about 4.2% of the total product goes through LA, and then just under 4% through JFK Airport in New York. Let's look at our most optimistic segment, and that's the wholesalers. There continues to be a fair amount of consolidation in the wholesale arena as the economy has improved. Wholesalers feel pretty good. For many, it's time to sell. Officially, though, the number of doors are really hard to come by, so this is anecdotal. We thought the number of doors would change drastically from 2016, when we said there were about 560 wholesale doors. That's not businesses, but it's doors, meaning there might be a wholesaler who has 15 or 16 operations across the country. We've seen about 20 wholesale firms go away in the last 2 years, but we also know of maybe 4 or 5 that have started. So it's not as big a drop-off as we had thought, but we're going to estimate the number of wholesale doors at about 500. Let's shift to retailers, retail florists. So we can't really talk about what's happening at the retail segment without acknowledging that how the consumer buys flowers, and really just about anything else, bears little resemblance to what the process looked like a decade ago. It's just very different. Those changes have given birth to enterprising disruptors, to seismic shifts in the chain of distribution, and consolidation in the total supply chain. Let's reflect about those changes a minute and ask, what's happening today that wasn't happening 10 years ago? So there was no Instagram. Instagram's 10th birthday is next year. Amazon had its 25th birthday in July, but Amazon's influence on the just-in-time mentality, shifting it from a novel idea to something that people have come to expect, that wasn't happening 10 years ago. Uber and Lyft and other transportation apps, they weren't around. And other direct-to-consumer retailers, 10 years ago it was 1-800-Flowers, FTD.com, ProFlowers. But today you have the Books, you have Farm Girl Flowers, you have Urban Stems, Flowers for Dreams, and there are subscription flower services as well. Millennials, of course, they were here 10 years ago, of course. They were a lot younger, so they didn't have that spending power. But it is a lot of spending power. Today there are 70 million millennials compared to 40 million boomers. Their influence is big, not only on what we sell, but how we sell it. and also their influence is big on the workplace. Then you have studio or event florists. They've been around a long time, but they have emerged as the fastest growing segment in the last 10 years. You've got online buying and mobile purchasing. Online purchases in general have been happening for a long time, but it's been in the last 5 years that we're hearing consistently from retail florists that it is their fastest growing category. Amidst all of this, and some might argue because of it, the number of retail flower shops has dropped 40% from just over 20,000 in 2006 to just under 13,000 in 2017. And SAF's retail membership has dropped right along with it. It's pretty dramatic. It's a pretty dramatic decrease. But there is good news. There are signs that the overall rate of decline in the number of flower shops is stabilizing. Looking at the average annual drop between 2006 and 2012, our industry was losing about 5.5% of retail florists each year. Between 2013 and 2017, just over 2% of shops went out of business annually. Based on historical trends, we're projecting the annual decline in shops between 2019 and 2023 will be about 1.7%, just under 2%. So the trend of the decrease is looking better. Let's shift to spending. There's a positive outlook for total U.S. spending on flowers and plants. It's expected to grow over the next 5 years from $35 billion to almost $45 billion in 2023. We saw a 15% decline in spending from 2017 to 2007 to 2009, but it's been on a slow but steady climb, growing 3.7% annually since then, and it's projected to grow about 4% annually through 2023. Let's take a quick look at the floral gifting market. This includes floral gifts for others, for self-purchase, for weddings, and for sympathy. It also includes in-store sales and online sales, including direct-to-consumer models and mobile. It's projected to grow annually by about 6% and will reach revenues of about $16 billion by 2023. So the consumer continues to enjoy our industry's products, whether buying for themselves or for others. So there really are good things happening. There definitely are good things happening. And the Society of American Florists board set out last fall to figure out how to capitalize on these current market opportunities and how to embrace the disruption, or at least face it head on. We want to be exactly what growth-minded industry professionals need the most when they need it. It's a lofty goal that required a tremendous amount of reflection on our part about why SAF exists, what role we should play in the industry, and what problems SAF is uniquely positioned to solve, and for whom. So that's where we started our strategic planning process last fall, with an openness to change. One of the first things we discovered was that the industry was looking for change as well. In one of our surveys, we asked, how much change do you think your business must undergo to be sustainable and relevant in the next 5 years? 91% of members said their businesses must undergo moderate to transformative change. SAF wants to play a role in ushering through that change. So with a strong commitment to evolve, the SAF board began the strategic planning process. And they set some ground rules, some guiding principles in the process. First, the board made a vow to ensure this process, to initiate change, needed to ensure SAF's relevancy. The board made a vow to challenge tradition and the status quo by thinking boldly and being open to new ideas. They made a vow to use data to understand current and future needs. They made a vow to be open to having tough conversations regarding disruptors in the industry. And they made a vow to think beyond individual biases and motives by asking, is this the best for the future of SAF and the industry? To do that, we tapped many voices and perspectives, SAF members, hundreds of former members, and dozens of new entrants into the floral industry. Our mission? To get a rigorous understanding of the challenges and opportunities facing SAF and the industry. At the risk of telling you maybe what you already know, I'd like to share the challenges that surfaced again and again in our surveys, and this is what the survey respondents told us. Labor first. For growers, the lack of immigration reform is a barrier to additional growth. There are crops not being planted, crops not being harvested. The trucking industry is experiencing a labor crisis. In 2018, the trucking industry was short roughly 60,000 drivers, almost 61,000 drivers, up 20% from 2017. The American Trucking Association says the shortage could rise to more than 160,000 drivers in 2028. Recruiting, training, and retaining talent were huge issues for all segments. The increasing cost of labor makes it tough to compete for employees in other industries. Retailers and wholesalers are struggling to find help at all levels, be it entry level as well as mid-level managers. Different generations have different expectations, and knowing how to manage those different generations under one roof is a challenge. And when you're able to hire, retention is critical. Developing a career path for ambitious new hires requires focus, attention, and time that many business owners simply don't have. Wholesale operations are struggling with replacing an aging labor force. We know that legacy employees are valuable. I'm one of them. Yet the demand for tech-savvy hires increases. Younger workers are critical not only to the future of the industry, but to the present. They have the tech know-how, they know social media, and they follow trends religiously. One supplier, whose workforce ranges from millennials to near octogenarians, struggles with figuring out this question: when does institutional knowledge trump a skill set, and when does a skill set trump institutional knowledge? Another retailer perfectly sums up why the labor piece is so critical. A good hire that is committed to our company and to our customers is more important than ever, because customers are demanding more than ever. They have greater expectations on how they should be treated and serviced. Another challenge is rising costs. Health insurance, air freight, cost of goods, tariffs, distribution costs, all of these continue to increase. Minimum wage is a big increase. It is a big concern. Wage increases are outpacing sales increases. One retailer asked, how do we not price ourselves out of business? Another challenge is competition. Increasing sales in an intensely competitive environment is a top concern for many in the industry. Amidst so much change in buying habits, evolving your business model to stay relevant is a huge, huge challenge. There's just-in-time everything, and we have Amazon to thank for that. Direct-to-consumer companies have altered how people think about flowers and their availability. More competition for wedding business from event florists or independent floral designers, that's happening all over the place. And what's become a huge source of customer growth for wholesalers has also become the retailer's biggest competition. Attracting new customers is tough and expensive, and it's all about standing out online. One retailer asks, how do you fight the race to the bottom on price and at the same time maintain quality and brand? And many believe the biggest competition isn't other floral competitors, but all of the other non-floral gift categories that are out there. Another challenge is understanding new technologies. SEO, social media, POS software, website optimization, robotics, automation, not to mention artificial intelligence or augmented reality. These are things that face the industry members every day, and it's difficult for people to keep up. The pace of technological change and what that means to consumers and your business, it just really is a challenge to keep up with all of that. So all of this all these challenges add up to uncertainty, which makes it difficult to plan for growth. We've heard that again and again in the surveys that we've done. But let's look on the bright side a little bit here. Let's look at some opportunities. And there are many opportunities. Brick and mortar is alive and well. This is good news. Some say Amazon killed brick and mortar, but they're adding brick and mortar. So it must be true that bricks and mortar is alive and well. They opened up an Amazon bookstore in Seattle in 2015 and have since added other locations. They bought Whole Foods. There's Amazon Go, the cashier-less grocery store. So they're looking at the bricks and mortar shopping experience and trying to make it better, trying to make it more efficient. Clearly, Amazon understands the opportunity in multi-channel retailing. It's not an either-or when it comes to where you buy, it's both. They understand they need to be where the customer is. Amazon has changed the landscape not only for independent retailers, but also for large format stores like Target, which can no longer afford to be so huge with so much inventory. So Target is rolling out its urban-centric smaller stores, smaller footprints, dedicated shelf space to unique items that you just can't find online. In addition, Amazon may have played a role in putting many of the country's independent bookstores out of business, but not according to Frank Feiss. Frank is owner of Acapella Books in Atlanta. He had spent 10 years on the verge of going under in the wake of Amazon and the big box change. He was $250,000 in debt. But today, his sales have doubled from a decade ago to almost 1 million. He focused on serving the customer, giving them what they want when they want it. He said the facelessness of e-commerce has stirred a sense of nostalgia for real stores, buying real products from real people, having real conversations. So there is a real interest in buying from local businesses. Customer service is the key. According to a Glance report, more than 9 in 10 customers won't patronize a company with poor customer service, and more than half would spend more for a brand that guarantees excellent service. Great customer service is a competitive differentiator. As a competitive differentiator is an opportunity for this industry. Very tied to the brick and mortar movement is the experience economy. So what is the experience economy? It's not a brand new term. It's been around since 1998. The originators of the term said the experience economy was the next economy following agrarian, industrial, and the more recent service economy. I'm going to step back here a second to see. Okay, good. Just want to make sure the movement was there. They said that memory is the key product and that businesses have to orchestrate events and experiences that create memories. Let's look at some of the companies outside of the floral industry embracing experiences. There's Punch Bowl Social, which is in Austin. It looks like it's a restaurant, but it's what else is it? It's an arcade. It's a game room. It's a playground. It's a bowling alley, right? I don't know if you've been there, but it's all those things. Lululemon has a concierge service that helps find yoga instructors, and they offer in-store yoga classes. Then you have Sephora, excuse me. They know customers want creative spaces, so it outfits stores with iPads for customers to use to get digital beauty tips. And DWS, the shoe store, offers pedicures right in its store. The opportunity lies in answering this question: what can you do offline that you can't do online? Creating experiences is just so perfect for floral industry businesses. Another opportunity is the plant craze. Houseplants. It's huge, especially with millennials. Millennials are really into plants. We're hearing new terms like plant parenthood. Plants are like their new pets. As an aside, my daughter-in-law, we went down to visit them a couple of weeks ago, and actually we went down to babysit a sick grandchild. And within 60 seconds after I walked in the front door, she was showing me all her plants. Forget about the sick grandchild. She was showing me her plants all over the house and the new plants that she had just bought. Let's take a look at this video from the New Yorker about a plant store in New York.
I have 3 plants in my room and I have 4 in my living space. For me, it's aesthetic, and it's just like building a nice environment. I think is really important. It's a New Yorker thing. You want to be in a nice place.
We call ourselves plant parents, and once you get one, it's like it looks lonely, and so it needs a bunch more to like support it. We are very emotionally attached. We name them, talk to them, everything. Our theme is like artists, and then we name them all after like rappers or like artists that we really admire, depending on the way that they look.
They name their plants after rappers, so that's kind of cool. I like that. The National Garden Survey found that 5 of the 6 million Americans who took up gardening in 2016 were between the ages of 18 and 34. That same age bracket accounts for almost 1/3 of houseplant sales. 37% of millennials grow plants and herbs indoors. It's fulfilling their desire to connect with nature and is really blossoming more into a wellness movement. The plant craze is a big opportunity for the industry. Next, LOCALVORES, the farm-to-table movement and the appreciation for locally grown flowers is increasing. This photo is from a field-to-vase dinner that they're sponsored by the American Grown movement, and that campaign has really picked up steam and no doubt has contributed to the interest in locally grown flowers. At the same time, there's an appreciation for the story behind the product, where it was grown, who grew it, and the environmental responsibility efforts of the producer, regardless of whether it was grown here or abroad. So, despite all of the challenges mentioned earlier, this is a good time to be selling flowers and plants. Much better than 10 years ago. Think 2009. So this is a much better time. Per capita consumption has grown from $88 in 2012 to almost $108 in 2017. Yes, consumer preferences are evolving and competition is stiff. The opportunity lies in what your competition isn't doing that you can do. It's there for entrepreneurs who can reimagine their business as the designer and curator of experiences and memories. It's there for businesses who tell the story behind their product, who grew the product, who designed it. It's there for marketers who partner with influencers and leverage social media to drive customer interest. And it's there for businesses that use technology to raise their online brand profile. So the SAF board asked, how can SAF help overcome these very real challenges so that growth-minded industry professionals can take advantage of these opportunities? This is kind of the essence of what the board explored during our strategic planning process. And here's what we concluded. We know we're already on the right track with some of our work. And you see advocacy, the advocacy slide up there. Moving forward, SAF will increase our advocacy work on Capitol Hill, fighting for immigration reform, research funding, advocating for a minimum wage that's not going to put small business out of business, protecting the industry's interests in Washington directly or indirectly addresses profitability and efficiency. So we are going to continue to focus on advocacy and even enhance and double down on our efforts in that area. Talent is really what gives you your competitive edge. How do we show our employees and prospective employees that floriculture isn't a stopping place to another career, but a career in and of itself? We know that a well-trained employee is a happy employee and a productive employee. Study after study shows a direct correlation between training and employee retention. According to LinkedIn's 2018 Workforce Learning Report, 93% of employees would stay at a company longer if it invested in their careers. But it's hard for busy business owners to find the time for training. What if SAF provided a platform for training and education? A platform where we'd aggregate and partner with the best training resources that are out there and fill in with new training and develop creative solutions to ensure businesses in the industry have a qualified pipeline of talent to pick from. SAF can become the industry's aggregator of knowledge and a resource for training and education, from growing practices to care and handling to design to customer service and sales to digital marketing. We're talking about a portal where all types of individuals can connect to gain knowledge, share experiences, earn certification, and track changes. A portal that would draw not only existing professionals, but students and aspiring floriculture professionals. We could create a pool of entry-level employee prospects and at the same time be a source for growth and career development. And in doing so, we bring a sense of pride and upward career progression to the industry and to your business, and help you retain employees by fostering a strong, healthy work culture. Of course, digital delivery is critical. It's convenient and it's efficient. But one thing that we've discovered in our research is that SAF's live events are very important to business owners' success and are valued across all generations. In fact, in spite of our reliance on digital communications, and more likely because of it, the need for in-person interaction is greater than ever. Humans have an innate need to connect. And on top of that, some of the best learning happens in peer-to-peer settings, like we're doing today. It's how you learned about how to better utilize some functionality in a point of sale system. It's how you got inspiration to open up a second business. It's how you learned about incentive programs to help your sales team. It's how you learned about charging more for delivery. Great things happen when our industry gets together. When you talk to your peers in your own segment, but even more important, when you can talk to your customers and your suppliers and you can share your needs and your desires with them. SAF is the only place where the industry can come together to meet. So we are going to continue to expand our role as the industry's connector and beef up our educational events. And those live events will play an important role in helping the industry navigate the future, explore and adapt new technologies, stay up to date on new marketing practices, and increase operational efficiencies. Expect more niche events from SAF. We want to continue to expand our events and bring high quality education around the country. And we want to pay special attention to our next generation group, carving out events where they can share, learn, and grow. Competition. We know that competition is tough. From other competitors for flower buyers, as well as from outside the industry. SAF cannot get rid of competition. While it sounds good on the surface, it would be a very expensive exercise in futility, and it's really not the role of a trade association. But we are going to double down on our efforts to help individual businesses compete, and in doing so, prepare for a thriving future. First, we are going to redirect SAF's PR fund dollars to create better tools to help businesses drive local sales and shape customers' appreciation of and need for flowers and plants. In an ever-shifting competitive landscape, knowledge is also power. Knowledge about competitive forces, knowledge about evolving consumer preferences, and practical solutions for how you should evolve your business model to meet them. Knowledge about sales and production trends so you can adapt your business model from season to season. Knowledge about best practices for engaging and managing a multi-generational workforce. SAF will be exploring the most convenient and progressive delivery methods for getting growth-minded industry professionals the data and knowledge they need to adapt their business model for a successful future. So with that said, what does SAF's new strategic plan look like in a nutshell? First, it's about career development. SAF will equip growth-minded industry professionals with resources to create fulfilling careers. And we specifically focused on the word careers and not just jobs, because we really feel that there is an opportunity to have a sense of pride in having a career in this industry. There's connection. SAF will cultivate connection across the industry to share ideas and solve problems. The future. SAF will be the industry resource for relevant data and knowledge about the future. And we will seek out partnerships to make this happen because we favor community over competition. We can do more working with each other than we can alone, and we know there is strength in unity. By helping you train and nurture a talented workforce and create career paths, by funneling you vital information about evolving trends and best practices so you know where the consumer is going, by connecting you with other like-minded floral entrepreneurs. By doing all of this, we will help you create outstanding flower and plant buying experiences, and that's really what it's all about with the consumer. We know there is power in doing that. So, SAF's mission is to connect and cultivate a thriving floral community. Our vision, why are we doing this? Because SAF believes in the power of flowers in every life. We know that an outstanding flower and plant buying experience is powerful. Powerful for the consumer because it immediately transforms their moment, their day, and their life. And also powerful for the industry because it creates a flower buying habit, loyalty, and flower and plant fans. Thank you.